This is Susan McKinnell from IT here at the University of Minnesota, and Sadie Anderson is from VoiceThread, and she has done a wonderful job in the past of giving us some quick webinars, letting us know how VoiceThread works for us. Today I know she's going to be highlighting some of the new features in the new look and layout. So that's all I'm going to do, and then I'm going to hand things over to Sadie.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that, Susan. And we're going to do exactly what Susan said. We'll go over all the basics of VoiceThread. If some of you are more experienced VoiceThreaders, you probably have gotten familiar with the older version, and today we're going over all the features of the new version. So this will be a good little Kickstarter for you if you haven't played with it already. And we'll also take a very quick look at how VoiceThread integrates with your Moodle courses. If you have not used VoiceThread at all before, that'll be new to you, but you'll see that you can pull VoiceThread right into any of your courses in Moodle, and your students will have instant access. Nobody has to sign up or register separately. But before we get to the Moodle part, we're going to start with just VoiceThread itself. And that is what you're seeing on my screen here. So what you see are a few thumbnails laid out, and each one represents a different VoiceThread. Now, a VoiceThread is essentially a collection of media. It's a little bit like a slideshow where you can upload your images, your documents and PDFs, your videos, your audio files, pretty much any type of media that you're accustomed to using in your classes. And you can then have a conversation around it. So you can record comments on it, you can share it with your students and they can record comments on it. And it's a way to have a conversation online about your media. Each of the thumbnails that you're seeing on my screen represents a different VoiceThread, and I could click on one of these to open it up and begin engaging in that conversation. We're starting here on the VoiceThread homepage because this is kind of your home base. If you ever get lost in VoiceThread or you can't quite figure out where you are, if you just click on this home button in the top left corner and you can get here to home, you can find everything from here. So you have all of your VoiceThreads on the right, as I mentioned, and then way over on the left side, you have a little sidebar icon. And if I click on that, it slides out to show me a little bit more information about myself in VoiceThread. I have a few filters up at the top. So if I want to say, I only want to see VoiceThreads that I own, I could click on Owned by Me, and now this collection over here on the right has been updated so that I only see my own. And the same is going to be true for any of these filters. Then down below, I have my groups. Your groups are essentially your classes. And these are going to be set up automatically for you as part of the Moodle integration, so you don't have to worry about building them yourself. You can just come straight here and find them automatically. A group is a place where you can share VoiceThreads with your students. And it's also a good organizational tool for you, because if I click on one of my group names over here on the left, again on the right, it shows me just the content that has been shared with this one group. So I can go through and see all of the conversations that have happened for my ancient literature course in here, but I don't see anything else. So it's a way for me to narrow down what I see. And then I can always just come back up to all, which is where you start, and this shows you everything. Now, I'm going to close this again by clicking on the sidebar icon to slide it in. And let's get started by opening up a VoiceThread. I'm going to scroll way down to find a specific one, and I'm going to simply click on it to open it up. Now, some of you may have seen this VoiceThread before. I like to use it as a really strong example of all the different things you can do in VoiceThread. It's a really versatile example of all the different types of features that you can use. So the basic layout of a VoiceThread is to have the media here in the center. And if you're familiar with the older version, you can see how the media here is much bigger. It takes up your full browser, so it's really easy for you to see all the details. You have the title up at the top and some basic information about yourself, and then you have the timeline at the bottom. This timeline is segmented, as you can see, and each of those segments represents a different comment that has already been made on the VoiceThread. Those comments are also represented over here on the left as images. So I can see the image of the person who recorded the comment, and I can click on it to jump straight to it. So again, you have the media in the center. This is the thing that you're talking about. And then you have the conversation that happens on the left side, and it's represented by the timeline at the bottom. What's interesting about this VoiceThread is that the instructor did not upload a piece of media for his main slide. He didn't have a document or a PowerPoint or any other thing that he wanted to talk about. He simply wanted to kick off a conversation. And that's one really great use of VoiceThread. It might not be a graded assignment, and it might not be something that the students have to do a lot of research for. It could just be a replacement for a text-based discussion board. So this instructor wanted to just record himself speaking directly onto the slide. And you'll have the option to do that. We'll go over creating a VoiceThread in just a moment, and you'll be able to simply use your webcam to record straight onto the slide without having to do anything in advance. We'll see when I start playing this VoiceThread that this first segment of the timeline is actually the video here in the middle. So that's going to play first.
Hi folks, my name is Larry Reagan. I'm the Director of Faculty Development for Penn State's World Campus. Every year,
and I'll pause that, but you can see how his video just plays right in the center, and it's a good conversation starter. He can kick off the conversation, he can tell people what he expects of them, and he could even tell them how to get involved, how to comment themselves. Once his video is done playing, the next comment on this slide will start playing. And that is this one over here. That's Brian Young. We'll see that Brian also used his webcam to comment. That's one of the ways that you can interact. So when I start playing his comment, it will be a video.
Hi Larry, this is Brian Young. I'm
I
an
can
instructional
resize.
designer with ETS here at Penn State.
And I can even move it.
I'd like to jump and piggyback on Mark's comment about usability and add to that I think.
So we see when we play back a video comment, you can still see the person who recorded, which is a really powerful feature, especially if you're using online courses. Your students can really see your face as you comment. But you can also change that size and move it around so that it appears in the best place for you. If you don't want to use the webcam, and a lot of people don't, you can also use your microphone to record. And that's what Mark has done down here. So I'm going to click on his picture to jump straight to him. We can see that.
Hi Larry, Mark Heckel. I think one of the key components that you have to have.
So there's not a whole lot to see. It's just audio playing back. If you have this little comment bubble open, it just indicates that there is an audio comment playing. Then finally, you can record using text. And that is what Mike has done. So again, his comment appears in the comment bubble next to his name. With the text comment, just like with the video, I can drag it to be larger so that I can see all of his text in one view. Or if I make it smaller, I can still scroll it. And I can even move it around. So if you need to see what's happening behind the text and this bubble is in the way, just move it around to a place that's more convenient for you. In this version of VoiceThread, you will get one identity image over here on the left per comment. And if some of you are a lot more familiar with the older version, you'll know that you used to only get one image per comment. And that is what's going to make your conversations much more understandable or easy to follow in this newer version. If you comment 6 times, you get 6 images over here on the left. And they appear in the correct order based on where your comment falls in the timeline. So it's really easy for you to figure out exactly who has participated. You can see who those people are by hovering over their names in this way. And this list of comments scrolls for as long as you need. So it can hold as many voices as you'd like. Now, a VoiceThread doesn't have to just be one slide. In this case, it starts with a video slide, but then it goes on to use some other types of media as well. I'm going to use the arrow in the bottom right corner to get to the next slide. And this is a completely different type. This is not a playable piece of media, so it's not a video, it's not an audio file, it's simply a PDF. This could just as easily have been a document or a PowerPoint presentation as well. So you can upload all of those standard files into your VoiceThread. I like to come to this one because it's completely blank at this point. There are no comments on it yet, and that's a good place for us to see how commenting actually works. When you're ready to dive in and actually participate in a VoiceThread, instead of just listen to what's already there, you come to the bottom and you click on this plus button. And this will fan out all of the commenting options that are available to you. Here you have the text option, which we saw on the previous slide. Up here at the top in the middle, you have the microphone. That's probably the one that people will use the most often, just because it's really quick and easy. And you also have the webcam option, which we saw on that previous slide. So you just select the one that you'd like to use, and you can begin commenting. You also have two alternatives on here, and both of them are audio comments. The telephone option allows you to record using your telephone, so that's a good alternative if you don't have access to a microphone. And then way over here on the right, you have the option to upload a pre-recorded file. That could be an audio file or a video file. So if you have something else already recorded that you want to use as your comment, you just upload it right there. In my case, I'm going to pick the microphone option, and I will allow access on this pop-up. And now the VoiceThread is immediately recording my voice. I have a stop recording button down at the bottom for when I'm done, and I can speak as long as I need to. I can speak for up to 60 minutes, so I don't expect that you'll hit that limitation. In addition, as I speak, I can also use my mouse as if it were a pen to click and drag on the screen and annotate on this slide as I go. So this is a really powerful tool to mark up text as I'm doing now, or draw attention to a specific thing on the slide, or circle something. You can even change the color by using the pencil icon down here at the bottom. This shows you all of your color options, so I could just pick another and continue my annotation. And all of this is saved in time with your voice. So you can tell your students, hey, look over here. This is exactly what I want to address in this comment. And you don't have to waste time with saying, look in the bottom left corner about an inch from the bottom. You just point directly to it, and you can pick out really nuanced details in your slides. When you're all done, hit stop recording. You can cancel or save. And now the VoiceThread is immediate. And if I save, we'll see that my comment immediately appears over here on the left side. Now I can also record another comment. So this time around, I will click on the plus again, click on the microphone again, but just leave a really short one. So I'll do that. I'll annotate my text a little bit and stop recording. And as soon as I complete my second comment, we'll see, let me go in and re-record, we'll see that my second identity image will appear over on the left. And there is my second comment. What's also great about this commenting channel is that if you own the VoiceThread, you actually get to control the order of the comments. So if you record your comments out of order, or you want to insert one further up, I could click and drag this comment and move it to the first position. And again, this is a feature you have if you own the VoiceThread that people are commenting on. But you can just reorder these comments as much as you need, and that helps the conversation to flow in a way that makes more sense. If for any reason you need help facilitating it, just go through and reorder them. In addition, you can always delete comments that you've made, or if you're the owner of the VoiceThread, you can delete anybody's comment from it. So if you have a student who needs a little bit of help, they need to delete a mistake or something like that, you can just click on the comment and then click on the trash can that shows up inside that bubble. And you can delete it. While it might not seem very important on the surface level, it's actually a really powerful tool to be able to delete your comments and re-record, because it allows students to iterate on what they're doing. What you will find is that students self-edit as they listen to their own voices. I think we all do it. I definitely do, because I use VoiceThread quite a bit myself. And when I listen to my comments back, I will think about how much better I could say something, and I'll often try again and give it another shot. Now, the last thing that I want to look at in this VoiceThread is how to comment on a video, because there are some really powerful things you can do there. I'm going to click on this postcard view in the bottom right corner. This shows me all of the slides in my VoiceThread, and then I'm going to click on the slide that I want to jump to. Now, this is a video file, and we'll see that when I play it, it's just a really simple video. It's only about 4 seconds long, and there's no audio to it. But when you introduce a video to VoiceThread, there's actually quite a bit of interaction that you can do beyond just annotating on the screen. I'm going to start by again clicking my plus button to record a new comment, and I'll select the microphone. I'll come down and I'll grab a color. And just like normal, I can annotate on this slide and I can point out different things to my students. But in addition, I can manipulate the video. So I might start it playing by using the timeline down at the bottom, and I can even scrub to different positions within the video. So I might come to a different point and then point out something else over here. And I could scrub backward in the video and point out something else. So you can always take your audience directly to where you want them to be in the video. Then again, when you're all done, you just stop recording, you can save, and there's your new comment. It just processes right away. Then, just like before, I'm going to delete it because I don't actually need to save that. That was just a sample comment. And now that comment is no longer there. Now, before we move on, I'd like to pause here and see if anybody has any questions about what we've seen so far. You can feel free to unmute and speak up, or if you'd prefer to use the chat, you can put your questions there. And at the same time, I'm going to go through and see the questions that have already been put in the chat.
Okay, I have a question. I'm Marilena.
Hi.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, I hear you.
Hi. Okay, I'm a language teacher, and I was thinking that if I want to make a PDF of small writings of let's say, of students, can I use this for, use the pencils, the colored pencils, for instance, and underline small grammar mistakes and make comments on this, on the VoiceThread, and then, for instance, request them to give me solutions for that?
Yes, absolutely. Here's an example of a slide that has a lot of text on it. And if I am the instructor, so in this case I'm you, I would record my comment and pick a color and tell my students, here's a little mistake right here. Tell me what you would do differently to correct that mistake. You can point to it with arrows, you can circle it, whatever you prefer to do. And I'll go ahead and just cancel that. But then your student can also come to this very same VoiceThread, click on the plus, and record a comment in response to you. And then there is where the student can give you her solution to the problem you brought up.
Excellent. So, yeah, you were giving me an excellent tool that I was trying to figure out how I could use Moodle to do this this grammar type of exercise where everybody could participate. Thank you.
Definitely, that's a great way to go. All right, let me take a look at the chat here because we have a few questions. We have one question: can participants add a central video, or does the instructor need to give them editing privileges? That's a great question. If you are the person who created the video, or excuse me, created the voice thread, then you can add as much central media as you'd like here. But by default, your students are not going to be able to. If you want them to contribute to your voice thread, you do have to give them edit level access. And if you don't want to do that, you could also have your students create their own voice threads. So students can also be the instigators of a conversation, and they could then share it with you and with their classmates, and they could upload their slides in that way. That's a great question about phone comments too. There is no longer a cost associated with phone commenting. So you don't need to worry about that at all. The only limitation is that phone comments can only be 10 minutes long. So you probably want your students to keep that in mind if they have a lot to say, but they will not be charged for the phone commenting. We have a question about blocking comments. You can turn on comment moderation, and we'll take a look at how to turn that on when we create a voice thread. But when comment moderation is on, that means you're the only person who can see the comments on the voice thread until you choose to reveal them to everybody else. So that's one way to keep tabs on the conversation. It's also a really good tool for assessment purposes. If you don't want students to see one another's answers to an assessment question, you just turn on the comment moderation. But if you don't want to allow commenting at all, you just want to say students can never click on this plus button in order to record, you can do that. You can choose to just give them viewing access, but not commenting access. And we'll take a look at how to do that when we talk about sharing. We have another question about how to set up an assignment. You can set up the assignment in either of these ways, Callie. You can create one slide per student and have the students all talk on their own individual slides. You could create one slide and have all students comment on that one. You can break it up differently. You might have groups where you say some students comment on the first slide, others comment on the next. The way that you organize the voice thread is really just whatever works best for your course. But you can use any of those examples that you brought up. We have a question about students with disabilities, and that's a really good one. First, there are all of these different commenting methods, and when you're talking about making comments accessible to students, what we would recommend is making sure that any student in your course who needs a written comment or a transcript of a comment has access to that. What you would do is record your first comment normally. So I would go use my microphone, record just as I normally would, say everything I have to say, and stop it and save it. And then once I have done that, I would come in and click on the text comment option, and this is where you can write out a transcript. So if you were speaking into, for example, a dictation program, and you can just paste in what that recorded for you, or you can write it out. You can type out the written version of what you had just said. Either way, that's going to be the best way to make your comments accessible to your students. In addition, if you have a video slide, like this one here is a video as the central media, you can actually add closed captions. So up here in the top right corner, you see there's a closed caption button where you can add captions, and you can simply upload one of your caption files. These are all the different files that are accepted. And you would need to have that file created in advance, but there are a lot of programs that will create these for you. If you're at all familiar with captioning, you probably know how to make one of these. And then you can simply upload it to the voice thread. And again, that is for when you have video here as the central portion. In addition, we have VoiceThread Universal, and that's for students who are not able to see. In fact, let me open up another browser tab and we'll just take a look at that really quick. They can set their accounts to default to this version, and it's basically all the same content, but it's presented in such a way that there is no extraneous visual information. And for that reason, it's really good for screen readers. So a student can come here, just get some very basic information, and then they could go straight to their VoiceThreads. And here are all their filters. So I could say, I want to see the ones that are owned by me. Again, these are all the same VoiceThreads that we saw previously, but they're laid out in such a way that they are consumable by screen readers. So I can keep clicking on and on until I get to the slide that I want to see, and I can see all of the comments on it if there are any down below. So that's what you would do for visually impaired students, or those who have to use screen readers for other reasons. We have a question about time limits for student comments. For the microphone and the webcam, the limit is 60 minutes, so they get a full hour. But for phone commenting, it's just 10 minutes. That one's a little bit shorter. And there's not a limitation for the text commenting, so you can make that as long as you need to. And Nima, your question about screen readers actually applies to VT Universal as well. This is all in Flash. If you're familiar with how Flash works, screen readers just really don't have access to it. So that's why we have VoiceThread Universal, and all of the text comments would be listed here on the page. All right, that was a great collection of questions. That's the end of what was in the chat. If anybody else would like to speak up, please go ahead.
I would like to know. I'm sorry. I'm really ignorant about. I'm learning very slowly. How do you make the groups? Is it easy? If I want to do groups instead of working with the whole class.
Yes, creating groups is very easy. In fact, we'll go over that when we go back to the sharing aspect of things. If you don't want to share with your entire class, but you just want to create smaller groups, every instructor will have the option to do that. So we'll be sure to cover it.
All right.
Okay, the next question in the chat is about imposing time limits for comments. We do not currently have the ability to do that. So students are able to speak as long as they'd like, but that's definitely a feature that we hope to offer in the future. So that's a great question. Okay, let's close out of this voice thread. I'm going to use the X in the top right corner in order to do that. And now let's talk about how to create a voice thread, how to start from scratch if you don't already have one. Students and instructors will do this in the same way, so you don't have to worry about your students seeing something different. Everybody will just come up here and click on Create. Anywhere you see the Create button, as soon as you click on it, it takes you to this screen. The first thing you have to do is add some media to your voice thread. So I can do that by clicking on this big Add Media button and selecting the source of my media. So I could upload from my computer. I could even use my webcam. We saw that man use the webcam in the previous voice thread. He just recorded directly into it. Or you can import by URL if you have the URL to a media file. But my computer is probably the one you'll use the most often because that's where all of your files are. So I could click on my computer in order to open up a browser window here. Or what's new in the new voice thread is I could pull over my Finder window here, and I could find any of my files and simply drag them over and drop them. So that's a new feature. Just drag any files you'd like to use directly onto VoiceThread, and it will upload those for you. So this is, again, creating the central media. I'm deciding what I want my big central slides to look like. And I uploaded one image and a 2-page document. I can drag these files around, or these slides rather, to change the order. And I can even delete a slide if I no longer need it. So if I don't need page number 2 anymore, I can click on the little trash can icon down there and delete it. And now I'm just down to 2 slides. You can keep uploading slides as long as you'd like until you hit the limit of 500. So again, it's a pretty lenient limitation. You probably won't ever have 500 slides in a VoiceThread, but it's good to be aware of that just in case. Now we have a question about file size. There is no limit to the size of the file you can upload. The one thing to keep in mind is that if you have a really big one, like a really long video, it will take some time. It'll take a long time to upload, and it will probably take a long time to process as well. But it will eventually upload if you just wait for it. Now you can keep doing this again and again until you have all of your slides. But in this case, I'm going to just say that I am done. I only need 2 slides in this VoiceThread. My next step is to give it a title. So I will click on Add a Title and Description. And you just give it a quick title, and that's all you have to do. You can give it a description and tags if you'd like, but I'm going to just skip those and save. And here you can see my VoiceThread title in the top left corner, and I can always edit that. That's an important thing to keep in mind, that ability to edit. A VoiceThread is a living conversation space. So if you come back maybe 3 weeks from now and you decide you really need another slide in here, maybe something was unclear to students, you need to offer another explanation, you can always come back and alter the slides here. So just keep in mind you don't have to get everything right the first try. You can kind of get a feel for how things go as the conversation evolves, and you can always come back to this. Once you have added your slides and you have given it a title, the next thing you probably want to do is record a comment. I'm going to do that by clicking on the comment button up at the top. And this opens for me the main VoiceThread and all of my commenting options. And I'm not going to go over this again because we just covered commenting, but everything here is exactly the same. The VoiceThread works in the same way, the commenting options work in the same way, and this is a good place for you to record your introductory comments. Let students know what you expect of them, how they'll be evaluated, what type of interaction you want them to make. And then when you're all done, click on this X in the top right corner, and it takes you right back to where you started. The next thing I want to do is consider the settings for my VoiceThread. There are some default settings in place, and for the most part people really don't need to change them very often. But if you do want to change them, click on the Options button in the top right corner and select Playback Settings. And this shows you all of those granular controls for how your VoiceThread behaves. I won't go over all of these because they're pretty self-explanatory, and if any of you are familiar with VoiceThread already, they haven't changed. These things mean the same thing in the new version of VoiceThread that they did in the older version. The one I really want to draw your attention to, though, is Enable Comment Moderation. That's what I was talking about a little bit earlier. When you want to not allow students to see one another's comments, this is where you enable that feature. And you want to make sure you enable it before the students start commenting. And that way you're the only person who can see their comments until you go in and you choose to reveal them. When you're all done here, you just click on Update, and those settings are saved for you. Now the very last thing that you have to do is share the VoiceThread. Up until this point, it's been completely private. Nobody is able to see what I have created. They can't see my comments. It's just completely isolated to me. And then I get to decide who gets to see it and when they get to see it. There are a number of different ways to share. And when we switch over to looking at VoiceThread in Moodle, you're going to see that the Moodle integration actually takes care of quite a bit of it for you. If you set up an assignment in Moodle to link to a specific VoiceThread, it's going to automatically do the sharing work for you. But you can also share on your own whenever you're ready, and that will happen here on the home page. So I'm going to skip the share button at the top and go straight back to home. The VoiceThread I just created was automatically saved for me right there on my screen. And the first sharing option I'm going to use is the ability to share with a course group. I would slide open my sidebar to find all of my courses, and then I simply grab the VoiceThread and drag it into a course. This gives me a little summary. So here I'm saying my students can view and comment on this VoiceThread, and then I would click on Share. You can also change that. So we talked earlier about how to limit what students can do. If you want to only allow them to view, you would select just the View button. And if you want to go all the way to the other side of that and allow them to edit, you can do that as well. That would mean that every student in my course has the ability to edit my VoiceThread. In most cases, though, you'll probably just want to allow them to view and comment, and that's the default setting. Then I would click on Share, and I get this confirmation in the top right corner that it was shared. And again, just to recap, you grab the VoiceThread, drag it in, and confirm. So sharing with your entire class is really as simple as that. You just drop it right in. I'm going to pause here for just a minute because I see a few questions coming in. Let's make sure we get to those. Jessica, it's not currently possible to impose a deadline for submitting a VoiceThread, but as we'll see when we get to the Moodle integration, there are actually timestamps on when the work was completed, so you'll be able to tell when the students actually did the work. And you can also tell when you open up the VoiceThread. So let's see, if I open this one, I don't have any comments on it, but here, let me record a really quick one. And I will stop recording. We'll see, when I hover my mouse over the timeline down here at the bottom, I actually get a timestamp for that comment. So I can see that this comment was made at 12:41 p.m., which is what time it is where I am, and that will allow you to see exactly when students completed the work. That timestamp is also going to be available when you grade items in the Moodle area. Ellen, you do need to have groups in advance, but the Moodle integration is going to set these up for you. So the fact that I teach an ancient literature course in Moodle means that this popped up for me automatically. I did not have to build it. So you don't have to worry about that part at all. The only time you would have to manually build a group is if you want to create smaller ones. If you want to generate your own smaller groupings of students other than just the main class. Students do, Daryl, see the group the same way you do. So they can click on it to see all the VoiceThreads in it, and they can drag their own into it as well. Now these other two questions that we have so far are about how to share with smaller groups, or how to make sure that you are not sharing with the entire class at once. The first thing that you can do is go into the sharing menu. And I'll do that by hovering my mouse over the thumbnail and selecting Share. And this takes me into a more powerful sharing area. There's a lot more you can do here than simply sharing a VoiceThread with the entire course. What I can do is come down to one of my courses. Here is my behavioral econ course. I can click on the members link to see all of the members of the course. And I might just click two of my students here, Steve and Ben. I see their names show up in this little summary area on the right. And then I decide what level of permission those two people should have. If I want them to be able to edit, I would click on the pencil icon, and then I just click on Share. You can also decide whether or not to notify those people by email. So in this case, I won't. I don't need to notify them. I'm just going to share it silently. And when I click on Share, that VoiceThread was shared with those two individuals, but it was not shared with the entire class. So that's how you'll do it in a more isolated way. Callie is asking about whether or not small groups transfer from Moodle, and they don't, so you're only going to get your main class group. But what you can do is build your own smaller groups in VoiceThread if that's the way you want to go. So I'm going to close out of the sharing menu in order to do that. And when you're ready to create those smaller groups that we've been talking about, click on your email address in the top right corner and come down to Groups and Contacts. This shows you all of your existing groups on the left, including those that were created automatically through Moodle. And to create a new group, you just click on the plus button up here at the top. And you call it whatever you'd like. You can give it a description if you'd like, and a header image, and create that group. So now when I scroll down over here, we'll see that Group 1 was created for me automatically, and I'm currently the only member of it. So my next step is going to be to actually get members into this group. The simplest way to do it is to grab the group sign up link in the top right corner. You just grab this and you can paste it in a location for your students to find. It could be in Moodle itself, it could be in an email, in your syllabus, anywhere that you put information for students to find. Give them the link to self-enroll in the correct group, and they will immediately be added to it. Another way you could get them in there, if you'd like, is to find a group that already has some students in it. I could select 2 of them, and I could drag them into this group. So you can manually place them in the group that way as well, if you don't want to use the sign-up link. But either way, the end result is the same, and that is that those 2 students are now a member of my small group. Now, I know that was a lot of information. We didn't break in between creating and sharing. Are there any questions about that before we move on to the Moodle portion? I'll give you a moment to type if you'd like, but I want to go back to a question we got earlier about the mobile app. That was a question from Peter. We do have mobile applications for VoiceThread, one for iOS, so for your iPads, your iPhones, your iPod Touch, and we have an Android app as well, so if you have an Android tablet or an Android phone. And the experience is pretty much the same. So everything that we've been talking about so far, as far as how to create and comment, will be very similar in the apps. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions come through, and I do want to make sure that we have time to look over all of the settings in Moodle. So let me drag that window over here, where I'm actually signed into a Moodle course. Oh, and Nima, just to repeat that information, we do have mobile applications for VoiceThread. One for iOS, which is all those Apple mobile devices. It's available for download in the App Store. And we have another for Android devices. So if you have an Android phone, you can go into Google Play and download it there. Both of them are free, so students can just go in and grab those. Joy, that's a good question about PowerPoints. If you have multiple slides in a PowerPoint, each of those slides will become a different slide within the VoiceThread, so it'll translate right over. Okay, well now let's take a look at how to actually get VoiceThread into Moodle. You already know all the basics of how to create and comment and how to get around, so this is really just about how to actually build the connection into your course. When you're ready to place a VoiceThread link, you'll have to turn editing on so that you're editing the course. And there are going to be 2 steps to this process. Step number 1 is simply placing a link in the course. I've already done that a few times here. And step number 2 is to actually click on the link and configure it. For step number 1, I would add an activity or resource, come over to my external tools, and find VoiceThread. Then I will add that. It will open up the editor for me, where I can give this activity any name I would like. And that's really all you have to do. Just give it a name if you would like to, or you can just leave it as VoiceThread. And then you can come down and go back to your course. And that creates the new link for you right there. Now you can also include an icon. For example, I have put a VT icon next to these. You saw that earlier I didn't add an icon and it just gave me this puzzle piece. But if I go back in and I edit this link, here we're going to see that if I expand out the options under General, I can scroll down and I can add an icon URL. So I will add that, and we can provide this information for you. You guys have that in your resources as well. And when I save and go back, we'll see that that's how you actually get an icon to appear. So that's purely aesthetic. It's up to you, but you can place that if you'd prefer. Then step number 2, after I have added the VoiceThread to my course, is to click on the link and decide how it's going to behave for my students. So here I see that there are 4 different options. In the top right corner, I have VT Home. And if I select this option, it means that when my students click on the link that I just built, they are going to see VT Home. If I drag this window away, that's this right here. They would just see their own home pages. And that's really great if you want to simply build a portal into VoiceThread. They would see all of their content, they would see all of their courses. But you might want to narrow it down a little bit, because it could be overwhelming, especially for new students, to see a whole bunch of content and not really know where they have to go once they get there. So the course view is a great way to narrow that down a little bit. That shows you only the content that has been shared with your entire class group. Again, if I drag this window away so that we can see the page behind it, if I click on Ancient Literature, it shows me the collection of VoiceThreads shared with those people. And this is the course view. This is just the VoiceThreads that have been shared with my students for this class. They wouldn't be able to see anything else, just that one class collection. And again, that was the course view. You can narrow it down even further by going to Individual VT. And that allows you to point this link straight to one VoiceThread. And that means, again, if I drag this away, for example, if I wanted this VoiceThread to be what my students see, they would click on it, click on the link that I had created, and immediately see this. They would not have to browse through a bunch of content in order to find it. They would be taken straight to where they need to be, and they can immediately start recording their comments. And I'm going to take a look at how to do that, because it's a really quick and simple process for you to make that connection. I will click on Individual VT, and what this does is pulls for me a list of all the VoiceThreads that I have ever created. Now, I have a really small account in this case. I've only created one VoiceThread, so there's only one in this list. But you might have several dozen here, depending on what you've created. And you can browse through that list and select the one you want to use. If you haven't yet built the VoiceThread you want to use, you also have a Create button up at the top. And we'll see if I click on that, it opens up a new tab for me, and it takes me straight into that Create view that we just finished going over. So I could click and add my media, do all the same things I just did, and then come back to the tab that has my Moodle course and find that new VoiceThread in my list. In this case, though, I just want to use the one that I already have, so I will click on it to get a preview over on the right, and click on Share with Class in order to confirm. And this is what I was talking about when I said earlier that Moodle will take care of the sharing for you. Even if I have not yet shared this VoiceThread with anybody, as soon as I click on Share with Class, it's going to do just that. It'll make sure that everybody in my class has viewing and commenting access to this VoiceThread. So now when I go back to my course and I scroll down, I'm going to click on the same link again, the one that I just built. But this time around, we're going to see that it behaves in the way that I just decided, which is to display the one VoiceThread that I had selected. It'll be embedded right here in this main space, and I still have the ability to click on the record button and record all of my comments. So that's how you build the connection to just a single VoiceThread. The last thing I want to go over though, and I'll go back out to my course to do it, is the Gradebook integration with VoiceThread. What we've talked about so far is all non-graded options. But if you want to actually have a gradebook entry for your VoiceThread and have that all tied together, that's when you would have to use the assignment builder. So I'm going to go in and use assignment number 3 for this, because I know this is one that I haven't configured yet. And when I come to the setup page, that's when I use this 4th option. That's Gradebook Integration. There are 3 different types of assignment that you can set. You can have students create a VoiceThread and submit them for you. You can have students record comments on a VoiceThread that you've created, or you can simply have them watch a VoiceThread that you have created. In my case, I want my students to submit a comment, so I will select that one. And again, it shows you the list of all of your VoiceThreads, so you can decide which one you want your students to comment on. You would click on the one you want to use, and down here at the bottom, you can actually give the assignment a description and set the number of comments you want students to make. So while we talked earlier about not being able to limit the number of comments, you can at least set a minimum requirement. I could say that all of my students must record 2 comments, unless if they don't record 2 comments, they will not be able to submit the assignment at all. So that's where you do that. And then as soon as I click on Create Assignment, that's going to set everything up. And again, you have the option down below to share the assignment with your class. It's enabled by default because rarely do you want to set an assignment without sharing it. And just click on Create, and we're all done with setting that up. Now when I go back to my course and I click on the link again, we're going to see the grading interface. So we'll see where I'm able to actually evaluate my students' work and submit the grades. So over here on the right, I have my list of students. This is my roster. Yours will obviously be bigger. I just have 3 students in this class. But they are listed over here, and they're subdivided between those who have not submitted, and obviously none of my students have. This is brand new, and those who have submitted. For students who have not submitted, you have a Remind button over here on the right, so you can remind them by email to submit their assignment. And for the students who have submitted, I can't see it in this case because nobody has submitted yet, but you would see the student's name up here instead, with just a little text box right here on the right. And that's where you would type in your grade. So I would click on the student's name, it loads their assignment submission over here on the left, again embedded in this space. And then once you decide what grade they deserve, you enter that grade here on the right, just hit enter on your keyboard, and that grade will immediately be recorded in the Moodle Gradebook. So all of your evaluation happens right here. And that's all you really need.
Sadie, can I ask a couple of questions?
Yes, absolutely.
So just to clarify, I can have students submit VoiceThread assignments and see each other's VoiceThreads?
Yes, you can have students submit their VoiceThread assignments, and those will be shared with the group so everybody can see them.
But their grades won't be seen by other students?
Correct. That only appears in Moodle.
And you said that I can submit the grade. Can I also submit comments that would not be seen by other students?
Your comments would be seen by the other students if you were to record a comment on the VoiceThread itself. But that is something that we are in the process of developing, that ability to comment privately back to one person on the VoiceThread. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Does this integrate with the Moodle gradebook? The grades?
Yes, it does. As soon as you enter the grade over here on the right, it's going to actually insert that grade into your Moodle gradebook.
Thank you.
Sure. Let me go through some of these questions. I know we have a few of them in the chat here. Peter's asking if it's possible to resize the images. Not at this point, Peter. The images just fill the available space at their current aspect ratio. So you saw here it was a little bit stretched out. You had some black space on either side because this embeddable space is only so high, and it maintains the same aspect ratio while filling the available space. But the ability to resize the media is also something that we're looking at doing in the future. So you can kind of make it fit the container if you'd like. Nima asked about what types of files can be uploaded. Basically all of your standard media types. So your documents, PDFs, your images like your JPG, your PNG, all those standard image files. You can upload videos, and most of your standard video file types will work. The best ones to use are probably MP4, MOV, and FLV. Those are the big ones. And then you can also upload audio files. Those just need to be in MP3 or WAV format. But there are over 50 different types of files that VoiceThread will accept, and we're growing that list all the time. So most of your files should work in VoiceThread. Callie's asking if you can change how much the VoiceThread is worth. You're not able to change that within VoiceThread because Moodle actually dictates that whole process. So everything is graded on a percentage scale. And then if you need to make it worth fewer points, I believe, and Susan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, what you would need to do is weight the assignment. So you could give it a certain weight in the course to change what it's worth. But as far as number of points, it's always out of 100. Peter, yes, you will have a recording of the session here. So I will send that to Susan and she'll get it out to you. Marlena, the VoiceThread link that you create in your course, let me go back to my course, is actually done just by adding an activity. So again, I would click on Add an Activity or Resource, click on VoiceThread over here on the left, and click on Add. And I could even not touch any of this, just leave it the way that it is. Save and return to my course. And there's that brand new link I just built.
Yes, I understand it.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand. I was thinking about the black symbol.
Oh, I see. Yes.
You have a link.
We'll send that to you. I believe it's in the Moodle, the VoiceThread resources in Moodle for you already. I'm also placing it into the chat here, so you'll be able to grab it from there.
Excellent. And I have one more question.
Okay.
So the VoiceThread itself, we have to create outside the Moodle site, right?
Right.
So we create in that Moodle, the VoiceThread.com. What is it? What is the...
Well, the best way to get there actually is to still go through Moodle if you can, because if I go through the setup process again, if I click on VoiceThread and click on individual VT, or through the assignment builder, if I go build assignment and submit a comment, I have this big Create button up at the top, so I don't have to actually go out to VoiceThread separately.
All right, excellent. Got it. I understand.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you.
My pleasure. Let's see. Nima, yes.
Sadie, are you going to talk about the assignment Watch a VoiceThread?
Oh, we certainly can. Yeah, if you'd like to cover that. Let's go on back and select that one. Okay, I'll go to the assignment builder again and select Watch a VoiceThread this time. And this is probably looking pretty familiar by now. It gives you the list of all your VoiceThreads. You select one and you create the assignment. What differs is that your students are not going to be required to comment on this one, but they will be held responsible for watching 100% of all the comments on it. So when the student clicks on this link and opens up the VoiceThread, they will have to listen to all of your comments start to finish. They won't be able to cheat by skipping forward. They won't be able to skip over an entire comment. It will keep track of what they've viewed, and it will not allow them to submit until they have seen everything. So if you have any reason that you need to hold students completely accountable for having seen the content, that's a good way to do it. But if you want students to record and actually interact and you want to evaluate their interaction, then the commenting assignment is really the best one to use. And Nima, you were asking if there is a list of all of the file types that VoiceThread accepts. There certainly is, and I'm going to put that into the chat window right now so that you can see. And that link will tell you everything that VoiceThread accepts and also give you some troubleshooting tips if you have any trouble. Now I know we've gone a little bit over. We're just about out of time. Does anybody have any last-minute burning questions before we wrap up?
Sadie, this was so good. I just want to say, can we do a follow-up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nima, this is Susan. Sadie does such a wonderful job. I'll work with her and see what's available. We have in our contract the ability to have 2 training sessions from VoiceThread a year, and so we'll figure out what we can do. The recording of the event, though, Sadie will get to me and I will get out to all of you. And Sadie, I know that we're pushing past the original time we got from you. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to go just a little bit over with us.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you for organizing this. It was really great. And you guys had some amazing questions. I'm really excited to see what you'll be doing with VoiceThread. So have a great day, everybody. I know it's getting late over where you are. So have a good evening, and just get in touch with me if any questions come up.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sadie.
Thank you.
Thank you.